Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laron K. Jenkins, Senior IT Asset Management Consultant for Configure Consulting. I'm a certified HP professional with 15 years experience in IT Asset Management Consulting, 12 of those years successfully implementing HP Asset Manager and automated discovery solutions in various industry sectors, including banking, government, and commercial manufacturing. I am very excited to talk to you today about migrating from DDMI to Universal Discovery. Our agenda for today will include reasons to consider why you have to migrate, Configure Consulting's migration approach, the architectural differences between DDMI and Universal Discovery, what your specific migration options are, the phases involved in the migration, a summary review of Configure Consulting's solution offering, and finally a questions and answers session at the very end. So let's jump right in with why migrate. Many IT organizations have to migrate older discovery tools to avoid being stuck with unsupported products and aging technology. Normal support for DDMI will cease on December 31st, 2014. However, current DDMI customers whose DDMI license includes software utilization can migrate to HP Universal Discovery Inventory at no charge for a one-to-one seat conversion. Conversion from DDMI agents to UD agents can be done gradually or all at once with no impact to your existing DDMI database or normal operations, allowing for the continued support of internal service and asset management activities. Also, migration to Universal Discovery Inventory prepares you for the option of having your hardware-software inventory data combined with dependency mapping and configuration information data all in one consolidated database with one user interface that you control on your choice of platform, either Oracle or Microsoft SQL, as opposed to the proprietary MySQL database platform of DDMI. Configure Consulting's DDMI to UD migration approach is a targeted effort to evaluate and recommend the best of two migration options for your organization. Our goal is to make this a painless transition for you, eliminating the use of DDMI's old proprietary database platform and getting you on track with the Universal Configuration Management Database, or UCMDB-ready database platform, as well as providing professional support and training throughout the implementation of Universal Discovery Inventory. First, a review of some of the architectural differences. From a physical perspective, the DDMI and Universal Discovery architecturals look very similar. However, most of the differences are from a logical perspective. In a typical deployment setup, one or more DDMI servers acts as both an aggregator and a collector for a given site or sites, and then writes discovery inventory data to a local MySQL database for those respective sites. One or more aggregator servers may also be used in this scenario to then pull from the remote DDMI collector servers and aggregate the data in one built-in MySQL database. Each DDMI remote server can independently run reports and display results for their respective sites. Also, each DDMI collector server is limited to a maximum of 50,000 nodes, and each aggregator a maximum of 500,000 nodes, and that's per your DDMI licensing. Compared to the Universal Discovery deployment scenario, the DDMI collector server is split into two distinct roles, a UCMDB server and a data flow probe. The big difference here is with the functionality of the data flow probe. In the Universal Discovery setup, there is only the one UCMDB server, which acts as an aggregator server, using an Oracle or SQL database platform, as previously mentioned. This server is the single point of access enabling the use of reports and other tools through a web user interface based on DDMA versus the old DDMI. The individual data flow probes have no reporting capabilities. and only serve to execute jobs and maintain communication with UD inventory agents on remote discovery nodes, converting collected data to configuration items, or CIs, and then reports that data up to the UCMDB server. The data flow probes are deployed on 64-bit Windows systems, may be a physical machine or a virtual machine, and can support between 2,500 and 5,000 nodes for daily discovery. There is no limit to the number of data flow probes that can be deployed, provided your node license count is not exceeded. As the number of data flow probes that can be deployed is unlimited, any number necessary to cover your environment can be deployed to maximize your existing DDMI license. The UCMDB server itself controls the limit, quote unquote, of nodes discovered and inventoried. Some other differences: the new Universal Discovery user interface maps configurations and inventory hardware, all the network devices, clusters, applications, and middleware in traditional, virtualized, and cloud environments, all in one interface. The full version of Universal Discovery also includes dependency mapping of your services and applications and the hardware that supports them, enabling impact analysis from the host to application and the individual configuration item with any change tracking associated with that item. Whether you do the full version of Universal Discovery or simply Universal Discovery Inventory, you will still maintain several reporting capabilities and flexible out-of-the-box options to integrate the Universal Discovery data with all core IT management systems, including asset management and service management. In this user interface snapshot, we highlight how DDMI device groups are replaced with management zones. Management zones allows the capability to create defined zones with specific discovery inventory parameters for a given region of your organization's infrastructure. For example, a customer can define Data Center X as a management zone when they need to either discover all Windows machines of Data Center X every week using a specific set of discovery parameters, or discover all J2EE servers in the same data center, but do it every day using a different set of discovery parameters. Each management zone can have an individual parameter for scheduling or discovery category, such as just servers or workstations for a given IP range. In the snapshot here, the red box highlights how the management zones are organized. The green box highlights the information for the selected zone's discovery parameters and its individual activities. For your migration options, the first is a transitional approach. You can continue using DDMI for inventory discovery while simultaneously utilizing discovery features of Universal Discovery. Migrating DDMI server configurations to the UCMDB server is optional. In this way, you can first implement a parallel environment and then gradually make the transition to Universal Discovery. This approach is ideal for large deployments or highly distributed environments with a large number of DDMI nodes, numbering in the tens of thousands or even more. The second option uses a complete cutover approach. You can migrate all of your DDMI servers configurations over to Universal Discovery and then retire the DDMI services. For either approach, an import and export tool is provided to map all the configurations, schedules, IP configurations from DDMI to HP Universal Discovery. Additionally, interoperable Universal Discovery inventory agents can be deployed to your DDMI environment automatically or deployed manually using any remote deployment technology available in your environment. This approach is ideal for smaller implementations and/or self-contained sites. The migration phases that are involved in Configure Consulting's approach number in 3 phases. First includes a detailed analysis of the existing implementation of DDMI, how it's being interfaced with other systems, what current issues you may be experiencing with DDMI presently, and how best to resolve them through the migration, as well as which of the 2 migration options would be the most appropriate for your environment. Once our recommendation is approved, we move on to the transition phase where we roll out the agent upgrades and integrations update for discovery inventory supported systems. And finally, in the production phase, we retire the DDMI servers and services completely. The implementation time frame will vary depending on the size and existing issues of your current DDMI implementation. However, small to medium-sized environments can be migrated in a matter of weeks. The exact time frame estimate will be included in the Phase 1 analysis. In summary, Configure's DDMI to UD migration approach is, as said before, a targeted effort to give you one of the two best migration options available, to provide you with a painless upgrade to your existing DDMI implementation without losing any of your discovery or inventory functionality, including upgrades to whatever integrations you may have with your existing DDMI implementation. Those same integrations will carry over to Universal Discovery. And throughout the entire implementation, we will include support and training for the new systems for your staff. That concludes today's presentation on migrating from DDMI to Universal Discovery and Configure Consulting Solution to get you there. I hope you found the material and the topic presented informative. Now let's see if there are any questions. Looks like we have a total of 3 hands raised. Okay, let's start with Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen, go ahead with your question, please.
Hello? Oh, hello. Hey, this is Alan. I had a question about multiple servers. We've had trouble in our environment with getting DDMI to work in certain network zones or even behind certain firewalls. We've had a little bit of luck with putting servers in special locations on a network, but we haven't always been getting successful results with discovery nor retrieving scans. Can Universal Discovery do anything with those kinds of issues better or more efficiently than DDMI can?
In fact, yes. One of the problematic issues with deploying DDMI is each of the DDMI collector servers are limited by an installed license. And that can be, as you can imagine, quite challenging if you're deploying individual servers behind certain firewalls or between certain zones. Try to cover your environment can be very troubling and problematic to configure and set up. As I said, the architectural difference with Universal Discovery, the functionality in Discovery Probe, the Probe 4 server, is completely different. You can deploy as many of those probes as you need to cover your entire environment. And all of the licensing is managing at the top level with the UCMDB server. So, for example, if your license limit in DDMI is 50,000 nodes, that number still translates over when you migrate to Universal Discovery. But you're not limited to, say, 3 DDMI servers. You can have X number of data flow probe servers. If you have 27 segmented zones throughout your entire environment, you can literally set up 27 probe servers without having to have your licenses reissued or segmented into various files. You can set those various probes up in the 27 zones. They'll all report up to the UCMDB server, and the UCMDB server will control the licensing there. Does that answer your question?
It did. So let me just let me just make sure I got this right. So we can deploy as many data flow probes as necessary to cover my entire environment, and I don't have to worry about my licensing issues?
That's it.
Man, that's great. Well, and that's really good to know. Thank you, LeRon.
You're welcome. Very good. Let's see. We do have one more here. Mr. Mike.
Hey, how you doing, LeRon? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Great. Thanks for doing this great presentation. Very informative. I would like to know one thing, though. What factors are considered determining if we should do the transitional approach you described or the full upgrade approach? And are there any hard and fast rules for that?
There's nothing written in stone as far as hard and fast rules, but in general, it really depends on the state of your existing DDMI implementation and how large for example, if you have a small deployment environment, say 10,000 nodes or less, with absolutely no issues whatsoever, while 10,000 nodes or less may be a large number to some people, it's not really that large of a number technically, and you could conceivably go directly to the second option, which is the straight cutover approach, without any interruption in services or discovery or inventory processes going on in that what you call a small, type of environment. The flip side of that, if you have a very large segmented environment where there are tens of thousands of nodes being deployed, the more natural leaning, if you will, may be for the first option, which is that transitional approach. That way you can control and set up a schedule, if you like, for when certain areas of the network is going to be migrated over from DDMI to universal discovery. And again, when you do it with the transitional approach, you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to lose inventory activity for a day or anything like that. That's one of the benefits of the transitional approach. Everything is still online 100% of the time, and nothing is turned off in that transitional approach until the very end. But by that point, everything's been converted over to the new universal discovery system. So in summary, no real hard and fast rule about it. It really just depends on the specific customer environment and what particular issues and the numbers of nodes that's going on within their particular environment. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that definitely answered my question. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Very good. Looks like we have a third here. Mr. Nathan, can you hear us, Nathan?
Yes. Yeah, I was wondering if you could tell me some more about support and training. Are you saying that Configure will provide these things as part of the solution offering?
Yes, absolutely. That is exactly what we are saying. And just to clarify, if you are having some existing issues with DDMI, we're not going to fix those issues specifically to get DDMI working. What we're going to do is move on migration-wise to universal discovery and make the fix or resolve for those issues through the migration from the old agent technology in DDMI to the new agent technology under universal discovery inventory, just to clarify that up front. Now, that being said, if we do run into issues during the migration itself, we will open and manage the HP support tickets. We will work those to satisfactory resolution for your environment. Excuse me. So by that, we will support the system along the same lines. Once we're in production, if there's any sudden failures of the system or the database shuts down, we'll, of course, be there on hand to troubleshoot and resolve and fix that for you. For the training, the other side of the offering, along with that is, of course, to train your people and your admins on how to use the new web interface for universal discovery, as well as what changes, if there are any changes that were made for any of your other systems that used to integrate with DDMI that are now going to be integrated with HP Universal Discovery. The training will cover both of those areas, not only the new tool, but also the interfaces related to any other systems that the DDMI Discovery data used to support, that now the HP Universal Discovery data is going to be supporting. Did that answer your question there, sir?
Yeah, that makes sense. One other thing, does all this have to be done directly on site?
Always a good question there. There is a certain portion of it that will be done on site, and by that I mean the first 1 or 2 weeks of the implementation, where we will have folks there to meet and do workshops with the subject matter experts for the DDMI. Obviously, we're going to need to talk to the DDMI administrator, as well as those folks in charge of the other supported systems that are being supported by DDMI through those integrations. In order for us to make a full analysis and a best recommendation for which migration option to use, we prefer a person to be there or a team of people to be there on site to communicate with those people face to face to give you, a fully vetted, qualified analysis and recommendation. Beyond that 1 or 2 week period, it really depends on what your policy is as the customer. For example, if your network access policy allows for remote work, we can certainly have our people work remotely, so as long as they have access and the proper rights access to the servers involved to configure everything, to set up the migration, to conduct the migration. If all that is allowed through your network policy, then no problem. We can have those consultants from our team work remotely to do the migration. Again, if your network policy does not allow that type of remote access, and we understand in some environments, especially for contractors, that type of remote access isn't allowed, not a problem. We can make the necessary arrangements to have our folks on site and present for the duration of the project until the migration is completed. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
No problem, no problem. My pleasure. All right, looks like we worked through all of the questions there. Those are very good questions. Thank you, everybody, for raising your hand there. And here in closing, I would just like to say thank you all for coming again, and especially for those who participated today with the questions and answers. If you have any further questions, or if you'd like to arrange a one-on-one demonstration and discussion of any of our other solution offerings, please don't hesitate to contact myself or our sales and business development contact at any time. We'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have. And thank you again, and have a great day.